Hello everybody! Today we're doing a little bit of a hybrid between a ranking and an insider's guide. Each video in this mini-series will focus specifically on one skier level. Today we're talking about expert terrain, which is most double blacks and all extreme terrain. I'm going to give you our top 5 ski resorts in the state for the skill level in no particular order, and then a mini insider's guide for each resort just for that level. If you don't understand, just keep watching because it's pretty self-explanatory. So with that, let's begin an expert skier's guide to Colorado ski resorts. We'll start with Arapahoe Basin. A basin's extreme terrain isn't as remote as some of the other resorts on this list, but that gives it an advantage in accessibility. The first thing you'll notice when you get to a basin is the massive east wall looming over the whole area. The east wall can be great if you know where to go, but certain areas can get busy at times. I typically try to avoid North Pole as it has the easiest hike, leading to the most people being up there, including some who have no business being on the east wall. I really like the stuff off of the Willie's Wide staircase here. The Y chutes are a lot shorter but equally as difficult. A lot of people take the east wall traverse way across, but if you just drop down after 100 yards or so, Land of the Giants is a super fun, often overlooked run. It is a good run to warm up or to learn extreme terrain on before you head up top on the east wall. Also on the front side is the Pollavicini chairlift, known colloquially as the center of the universe. The exposed upper part of the Polly terrain can get really windswept at times, but there are some days when the wind buffs some areas really well. The Polly terrain is some of the easier extreme terrain you'll find, especially runs like International and Main Street, which are both big wide mogul runs, albeit decently steep. The nice thing about all the Pollavicini terrain is that it doesn't require a hike in or out, which is a rarity for extreme terrain at most resorts. Far on the looker's right is the steep gullies. These are up there with some of the east wall stuff as the most difficult runs at Arapahoe Basin. They are, as the name indicates, quite steep and narrow. I prefer number 3. On the backside of Arapahoe Basin, in this zoomable area, is some more extreme terrain. There is also some easier expert terrain, although there are quite a few good small rocks and cliffs to jump. All of this hike-back terrain isn't too terribly difficult, and I believe it is only expert because of the hike-back that is required. With the vast variety and easy accessibility of extreme terrain Arapahoe Basin offers, it earns a spot on our list. Our next ski area is Aspen Highlands. Down below, on the exhibition side of things, are some really steep, dense glades with plenty of obstacles. However, what every expert knows Highlands for is the Highland Bowl and Deep Temerity Pod. The Deep Temerity Pod has some extremely steep mogul burners and a ton of steep, dense trees. The Highland Bowl is some of the steepest inbounds terrain you'll find anywhere. It requires about a 40-minute hike, so be prepared for an extremely strenuous and long hike. There is a cat that you can take that will shave off about 15 minutes. As you hike up, make sure you keep an eye on what everybody else is skiing, as those in ahead of you will indicate to you where the snow is best. There are 3 primary zones in the Highland Bowl: the Y zone, which is all of these that only require a partial hike, the B zone, which is this main sheer face from the summit, and the G zone, which is all of these G-named runs. For the first time skiing the bowl, I would recommend G6, G8, or White Kitchen, which are more open than other runs. These 3 B-zone runs right in the middle are more of chutes, so I would recommend getting real comfortable with the rest of the terrain before doing those. G2 and G3 are my personal favorites as they are the least skied and, as such, maintain the best snow for the longest. In the early and late season, though, the snow isn't great. If you don't want to do the full hike, dropping into these Y-zone runs is never a bad option. Altogether, a run on the Highland Bowl tends to take me about an hour and a half, but it can take up to 3 hours depending on how long you take on the hike and how long you spend at the summit before descending. P4 is a really nice run that is less busy and typically skipped by non-locals, accessed from the fun deck gate and a short traverse. Altogether, the hike and the run out make the bowl extremely time-consuming for the short amount of skiing, but if the weather is right and the views are there is no question that it is absolutely worth it. Although it is a little smaller and lacking in variety, the Highland Bowl is simply so incredible that Highlands lands a spot on our list. Our third ski area is Telluride. Telluride not only offers a massive amount of high-quality inbounds expert terrain, but it also offers great access to incredible backcountry skiing and runs a great heli-skiing operation. We'll start over here on the town side of the resort, Underneath Oak Street here are a pair of empty Mogul double blacks. These Mogul double blacks over on the gondola side are much busier and have much worse snow. Do be careful if you're coming down North Chute, because all of these corners on Telluride Trail are intersections with North Chute, and many people on the Blue don't look uphill. Just above that area is the Plunge Pod. The Plunge Lift, a brand new high-speed quad, allows for much quicker laps than the old lift, so I enjoy lapping this area much more now than I did in the past. This area, and the Apex Pod over on the looker's right here, are both best for tree skiing, although they do both offer some really good bumps as well. Now, let's get to the fun stuff: Black Iron, Gold Hill, and Palmyra. The actual Gold Hill Pod, all of this here, can get pretty busy from people who don't want to commit to the hikes. As such, I would highly recommend doing the hike up along the ridge to the actual Gold Hill chutes. Chutes 6 through 10 are great because after a shorter chute part, they open up into Palmyra Basin where you can find some powder, trees, or additional obstacles. The farthest hike, to chute 10, took me about 30 minutes. Accessed from the other side of the basin, from the top of Prospect here, you can do a short, pretty easy hike up to Genevieve as your first expert terrain. Above that, both the terrain and hike get much more difficult. About a 30-minute hike up, you can head down Pee Wee's Big Adventure, which offers these massive cliffs you can jump off every now and then. Dihedral Chute is a much longer chute than Gold Hill chutes, so I would recommend starting with those if you're not confident, as you'll need to be willing to let yourself go a bit to get down Dihedral. If you keep hiking up the ridge for another hour and a half, you can access Palmyra Peak, which offers access to even gnarlier, even steeper, and even more extreme chutes than Gold Hill and Black Iron. If you're not confident, I would highly recommend heading down Mountain Quail. It's not worth the risk of deciding to hike back down because you weren't quite ready for just what the peak had in store. You can see all of these backcountry access gates, which only add to the Telluride extreme terrain experience. And of course, if you get bored of the inbounds and backcountry terrain, Helitrax offers one of the best heli-skiing operations around. All of that together puts Telluride firmly on the list. Following that, we have the iconic peak of Mount Crested Butte. Everyone goes to Crested Butte and wants to ski the peak. I truly believe it to be overrated. It's busy and tends to have pretty terrible snow quality. The same can be said for Rambo, which has falsely been claimed to be the steepest run in North America. Heck, even CB Ski Patrol themselves tell people that Rambo is overrated. Off the top of the high lift T-bar here are a bunch of average level expert chutes and glades. None are incredibly steep as opposed to the terrain we'll get to in just a minute. On the other side here is a lot more glade skiing, although I tend to dislike this area because of the amount of unqualified skiers and the generally poor snow quality. One of the areas that I really enjoy skiing at Crested Butte are the Teocalli Bowls on the backside, also accessed from the high lift. TO2 is very rarely open, as it has been open only 3 times in its history. TO1 and 2 offer some really good glade skiing down below, which is what I really like it for. From the bottom of TO2, you'll have to hike up about a half hour to get out, and it'll drop you at Schofield Road. By far my favorite area of Crested Butte is accessed from the North Face T-bar. All of this terrain offers various obstacles, and all of it is equally as steep, which is some of the steepest terrain you'll ever ski. We already talked about Rambo here. The further to the looker's left you get, the less busy it is, which is why Third Bowl is my favorite of everything here. Third Bowl is one of the most difficult runs you'll find anywhere, as not only is it equally, if not more steep than Rambo, but it has rocks, cliffs, chutes, trees, stumps, bare patches, logs, saplings, and other various obstacles nearly every way you turn. The hike to and out of it is absolutely worth it, and I would highly recommend trying Third Bowl if you're up to it. Between the iconic runs like Rambo and Peak and the hidden runs like Teo and Third Bowl, Crested Butte has it all, which earns it its spot on this list. And finally, we have the no-brainer of all no-brainers, Silverton. Everyone has heard of the legendary experts-only mountain of the San Juans. And of course, it is one of the top 5 ski areas for experts in Colorado. Now, for your first time, I would highly recommend taking a guided tour. No matter how good of a skier you think you are, you should not jump straight in on Silverton because it's really not worth the risk of jumping right in. Your guide will know the best lines based on the conditions of the day, and after you take a guided tour, you can decide for yourself what your favorites are and what other lines you want to try. I won't get too in-depth because Silverton offers a little something different for everyone. Silverton also offers a really good deal on heli-skiing if the inbounds doesn't leave you satisfied. Silverton doesn't need anything said because the mountain and its reputation speak for itself, and guarantee it a spot on our list. That about wraps it up for expert skiers. Please leave any questions down below. Go check out the other skill level guides or insider's guides to be in the know about all that Colorado ski resorts offer. Thank you all so much for watching. All my love, I'm out.